All right, Nick. Here we are. 8-3. Reaver did get out of that jam though. Kind of. He created it, gave up some runs, then got out of the jam.
Yeah, I think
What's
Reaver
what are you
might have
Go ahead.
Reaver might have expired himself here. He might need a
You think
2-week Louisville break.
yeah. You think he's going out with Bally? It's a package deal.
I like it. Oh,
Boy, tell you what a bad day for a couple guys and what a great day for some.
yeah, kind of one of these.
Kevin Newman, man, he's been on a tear. Got his average all the way up to 230.
I think he might have a 5-game hit streak if I'm not mistaken here. I mean, some people are saying he's back.
Is the most overrated stat in all of baseball the hit streak?
Wins and losses for a pitcher are still really,
Yeah.
really, really, really bad.
You're right. Okay.
I think batting average in general might be a worse stat than a hit streak.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think the hit streak sometimes gets a little overblown.
Well, yeah. I mean, Tyler Stevenson had a
Yeah,
hit
exactly.
streaker like a 10 out of 11, and wasn't really doing a whole lot.
Go 1 for 5 every game. Next thing you know, people are excited for you.
He's hitting the ball a little harder though.
No, I thought.
I
mean, if we're gonna be relatively optimistic about some things, Stevenson looked better at the plate.
I mean, not as good as Kevin Newman. Like, let's be honest.
Kevin Newman's looking pretty decent. His trade value
Fighting,
goes up
battling.
every single game. That ball's hit hard.
Ooh. Could have hustled a little more though, Kevin.
That's as fast as he can run. What do you mean?
Sprint speed got maxed out.
What? Yeah, he was running hard. Matthew, welcome to the chat. Good to see you.
Always good to
Who's
see
your daddy?
Reds fans at 12:20 a.m.
Jordan,
Love it.
Dougie, Eric, Paul.
Trace, could you imagine?
This is prime time, Paul, right here. This is prime time for Paul. This is Mountain West basketball, isn't it, Paulie? This is prime time.
The Boise State hour.
Bryce, welcome in.
Look at that.
PTP, prime time, Paul. What's up, Rico? I didn't know that.
We got prime time and big league.
There's George. You know, one thing that is kind of wild about the fact that San Diego is so emphatic about their baseball team now. I think some of it has to do with the fact that they certainly signed, exciting players. They without question probably their ownership group did a little bit for them. But do you think some of it just has to do with the fact that they lost a franchise?
I would think it probably helps.
Yeah. There's 2 outs. Any more topics for Banana Phone? I feel like that has something to do with it. I really do. I mean, and I'm not, by God, no, I'm knock on wood here. I'm not trying to even put this into the atmosphere, but if the Bengals were to leave town, the Reds attendance or whatever, if they invested in their team, would dramatically go up just based off the fact that people got, I don't say nothing else to do, but it almost would take a little bit of pride in the fact that owners, that they stayed in town.
I was going to say something mean about FC Cincinnati, but I don't want to make sure Casey's not watching.
Oh, you're saying if FC left town?
No. I was saying, well, that's kind of what's happened with FC Cincinnati. People just want something else to do.
Oh, with the Reds. I don't know. I think FC's got like a niche. They got a niche fan base, like, and I think that's fine. But I let's be honest. It is what it is. If they're relatively competitive, people will go to the games that care about soccer, and there's enough of them. That's just a really good pitch, man. Nothing you can do about that, Casali. It's baseball. All right, let's do this show. Let's have some fun.
High drive, left center field, racing back to the World Bourgeois. The Reds are National League Central Division champions. In the air, left center field. Did he? He did! He did! Reds win! Reds win! Line to the right field. Genius, the first run ever. With 4 home runs in a game. Can you believe it? In the air, down the right field line. Doesn't have a chance. The Reds have won on a 3-run home run on opening day by Ramon Hernandez. A strike away and out away is Homer Bailey. Ground ball to third. Frazier gloves. Throw to first, and Homer Bailey, for the second time in his major league career, has tossed a no-hitter. Oh, gosh. Oh, are you kidding me? Holy Moses, the second player in major league history to hit 7 home runs in the first 10 games. In the air, and the Reds win. What a dream beginning to the career of Jay Bruce.
All right, Nick. This is part of that 162 thing. They play 162 baseball games in a season. Tonight just happened to be one of them. They played the Padres. They lost 8-3. There are some things to get into. Box score recap, as always. Nick Senzel continues to be hot. NL Player of the Month. We'll get into that in just a minute. The defense, you got an exclamation mark on there. You were excited about it, apparently. That's great. Luke Weaver. We'll talk about him. I had some interesting thoughts about him before we went on air. And then Casey Lagamina. I think I said his last name right. You'll correct me
You
if
nailed
I'm
it.
wrong. But nonetheless, Nick, hope you're doing well. It's late night. Got quite the crowd in here. We got the traditionals in the chat, which I love. We'll get into them a little bit. But first, as always, we got this thing called the Box Score Recap.
Yep, let's do it. Especially for the folks listening podcast version, shout out to you. Maybe you didn't get to stay up and watch this, but hey, we're here for you every morning after a Reds game. Bringing it to you. All right, bottom one. Luke Weaver gave up 2 runs in the first before recording it out. Trace really looked like it might go off the rails right there, but he was able to get out of the inning, stranded a runner on second base. Top third, Stuart Fairchild, 2 RBI double, tied the game at 2. And then bottom 3, Nick Senzel got a great jump on a ball that was hit 347 feet by Xander Bogaerts, able to make a strong relay to Jonathan India, who threw out Soto back at first base. And then top 4, Senzel came right back, hit his 3rd home run in 5 games, put the Reds up 3-2. But in the bottom of the 3rd, the Padres tied it at 3. Weaver was in a lot of trouble, had runners on 1st and 3rd with no outs. Tatis Jr. flied out to Henry Ramos, made a really strong throw, 261 feet, to hold the runner at 3rd. Then Weaver's defense really helped him out as he got a really nice double play started by Kevin Newman, flipped to India on to Steer at first base for a textbook twin killing. Bottom 5, Luke Weaver got Juan Soto out. Then Xander Bogaerts singled. That brought in Alex Young. Luke Weaver's day was done. Just 4.1 innings pitched in this one. Someone singled, and then Ramos showed off his cannon again by throwing to second. This is an interesting play in the game. Xander Bogaerts made too long of a turn The call on the field was safe. Replay was close, but once again, second day in a row, Reds get a classic call stands. Alex Young got Cronenworth to line out, and then that brought Kim to the plate. Alex Young in that at-bat tried to pick off Bogaerts at second base. He looked like he might be out, but called safe, and the Reds couldn't challenge because they just burned their challenge. And then, of course, Kim hit a ball into the first row to make it a 6-3 ball game. It's only a home run in 3 out of 30 ballparks. Kim has 4 career home runs against the Reds, more than any other opponent. Casey Legumina, he pitched 2 brilliant scoreless innings, but Reaver San Martin really let the floodgates open in the 8th. Your final 8-3. Padres beat the Reds. Reds have lost 2 in a row after their 5-game win streak.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the game mostly every single pitch. It didn't feel like the Reds were that far out of this baseball game, if that made any sense. I mean, I know 8-3 sounds bad, but a couple plays here and there, and I think it was relatively close. Like you said, there was some bang-bang plays that didn't go the Reds' way. Replay hasn't been very good for the Reds, and then not only that, but, you know, it'd be nice to get one of these calls to go your way on the field, so when you go to replay, you are the benefactor of the quote-unquote play stands. That's just not been the case. But again, as we've always said, most of the time it's not the reason that the Reds lost. I don't want to go too crazy in regards to the order that you currently have on the J-Bar, but I do want to get into Luke Weaver. I think that, again, he gets off to a little bit of a shaky start, giving up some runs in the first inning. He did battle back, and like I said to you before we went on air, I don't think Luke Weaver's stuff is that bad. I actually think it could play at the big league level. When I watch him, it feels like he belongs. It certainly feels like he's in a position to where he makes just a couple more good pitches in these certain games, and he finds himself in a dramatically different outcome. Now, I know you could probably say, well, Trace, you could do that for all the pitchers, or you could do that for almost any pitcher. I don't know if that's the case. Like, you know, without trying to be too funny, Reaver San Martin today, like, I don't think he was close to getting out of anything. Like, you know, those are just 2 dramatically different viewpoints in regards to their quote-unquote stuff. So I'm still not like over Weaver, I guess. I'm okay with seeing him a couple more times just to see what he has. I know Abbott's sitting there in AAA. If he throws well again, you'd like to see him get an opportunity. But, you know, hey, this Reds team, without being like ridiculously pessimistic, I mean, I'm going to be pretty optimistic about the show. They're just not very good. Like, there's not a ton of great players. And the beautiful thing is we actually are getting some production out of guys that we just never thought we were going to get production out of. You know, I mean, we walked into this year, Nick, and we were thinking that Will Myers was going to be one of our better bats, right? I mean, he's a no-show. And, you know, Stevenson, not to be negative about him, but he's been a no-show is a strong word, but he's not been the Tyler Stevenson that we were going to hope to have. And that's where you enter in the optimism of Nick Senzel, which we'll get back on track, right back on the J-Bar. I guess your overall thoughts on Weaver before we jump into Nick, and you can keep the J-Bar there so you're not all over the place. But go ahead. What's your overall thoughts on Weaver first, just for the folks listening in the car?
Yeah, I mean, Weaver was okay. I mean, look, that's a good lineup that really looks like they're starting to click. That's a lineup that you get into June, July is going to be really, really, you know, just scary to go up against. Just up and down that lineup, just good player after good player. Yeah, I mean, 9 hits allowed, but I'll give him credit. He did attack. You know, that's a good lineup. He didn't really shy away. He went after, you know, their hitters, and was able to get out of a couple jams. It just kind of feels like all 3 starts. Well, if you just made a pitch here, a pitch there, you know, it's a different outcome. And
you're right.
I mean, you could say that about everyone.
Since when have you become the negative guy? I mean, I'm trying to be optimistic over here, you know. You're rubbing off on me, and the next thing you know, I'm like, you know, I mean, hey, he's doing a pretty good job. He's a couple pitches away here and there. I mean, listen, Luke Weaver's not a bad pitcher. You're rubbing off on me, Nick, and next thing you know, you're like, I mean, this guy stinks. He's a couple pitches this way and that way. He gave up 9 hits today. What happened, Nick?
No, I'm all about riding out Luke Weaver. I'm just saying, like he's been close. I'd really like to see him put one start all together, and he'll go up against the White Sox this weekend. That's his chance. They are not a team that's clicking by any stretch of the imagination. So, like I said, with Luis Cessa, let's see what he can do against the Pirates. I'm now giving the ball to Luke Weaver. Luke, let's see what you can do against the White Sox. This is your chance, buddy. Take it and run with it.
Yeah, well, let's get into Nick Senzel. He's an optimistic viewpoint of this baseball team right now. Go ahead.
Well, from our chat here, Jordan, if a guy loses, Nick, he's lost. I don't know about that because I lost Nick Senzel. Look what happened. So, Luke Weaver, congratulations on your Cy Young Award.
Yeah, this is true. I think I do remember before the season started, they were buying stock or selling stock on certain players, and Kirby was selling the penny stock of Nick Senzel. I mean, so to be fair, he's right. He was out on Nick, but Nick looks again like he's playing with incredible confidence. The thing that impressed me too is like right now, not only is he swinging it well, but he's playing the positions that he's been playing relatively well. He made some plays at third base tonight. One in particular, I know he didn't get the out on, but he came across the diamond, snagged the ball barehanded, and I don't really know if the throw was all that bad, but nonetheless, he looks comfortable. And he's the NL Player of the Month for those that did not see that. If you're not on social media and your head's buried in sand, perhaps. The week, my bad. The Player of the Month was Matt McClain that I was thinking of. Which we are not getting into that night, okay? We're going to spend one day off of that. We're going to take a day off. David Bell said, hey, you need a day's rest. So we said, okay, we're going to do a day's rest on the Matt McClain talk. All right? Twitter, the Bluebird app is a place to go if you want the Matt McClain app talk, just go on the Bluebird app. All right. Nick Senzel, I don't know what else there's to say about the guy. I think that you put a tweet out that is very true. If he's just an average hitter for this team, 100 OPS plus, then I think he's going to be serviceable for this team moving forward for at least a few years. And he has the position versatility that I know that you love.
Yeah, he looked awesome at third base. I can't believe how good he looks there for a position that he hasn't really played a whole lot of. He looks more comfortable at third base than center field. And I don't think he's looked bad in center field. Don't get me wrong. He made a really nice play today. Got a great jump on that ball that he ended up throwing Soto out by way of India. But Nick Senzel, I mean, this was a guy that last season only had 18 extra base hits in 373 at-bats, and he has 3 home runs in 5 games. Finally showing a little bit of power. That's been the one thing with his game that has really just not manifested at all. We kind of always thought he's a guy that is going to be a high average guy, but hey, we think at Great American Ballpark, he maybe be that 20-25 home run guy. Never really have been able to see that at all. But over this last week, he's finally starting to hit the ball, with a little more authority. And that's the thing that he has to do, because I don't think Nick Senzel is ever going to be, he's a career 242 hitter at this point. I don't think he's ever going to, he'd have to hit over 300 to be valuable without power, right? He doesn't get on base enough. So he's got to continue to show this power. Great week. I hope he can keep it up. But you can't be more encouraged with what we saw every night from Senzel.
Here's the thing with Nick, though. Here's the thing with Senzel that people have to account for, and yourself included. Like, it's one thing to say that he struggled, and him be healthy while he was struggling. Okay, like that would be overly concerning. That's where I would fall into the camp of saying I just don't think this guy's ever going to figure it out, because it's just you have this long in the big leagues and you still haven't figured it out, then you're probably never going to figure it out. But when you've been hurt the way that he's been hurt, right, I think that it's one of those things where if he just stays healthy, which is the biggest if of all ifs, like that is the main question mark in this whole equation of Nick Senzel is, can he stay healthy long enough to be valuable on a baseball team? That's something that nobody really knows the answer to. you could argue that it's been freak accident after freak accident after freak accident that's happened to Nick, and that's why he hasn't gotten an opportunity to play. Or you could say that he's an injury-prone type guy, and for some whatever weird reason, genetically and or just his physical makeup, doesn't allow him to stay healthy. And I don't know if you could really take a hard stance one way or the other on why he's been healthy or why he hasn't, but at the end of it, if he stays healthy, Nick, I think he can be a really good player. And when I say really good, I mean he can be a serviceable or an average or a little bit of above average MLB player. And maybe, just maybe, we're lucky and he ends up being the great player that we all hoped he was going to be at one point earlier in his career. But as we've talked about before, you take away the pressure that's come from the fans and or the organization by picking him so high, and you take away the pressure that he obviously puts on himself to perform, and you start to find results that you're having right now, I think. I don't want to say everyone, but seriously, Nick, every person that makes the major leagues, every single one of them, they have the talent to be an average or an above average Major League Baseball player. The only thing that separates them, in my opinion, most of them, there's obviously the select few like the Barry Bonds of the world that are just naturally way better than everybody. But most of them, it's just mental makeup. It's what's between the ears. It's the ability to be able to overcome adversity, handle pressure, and we'll see whether or not that maybe this whole thing has changed it up to where Nick is that guy now. Fred also brings up a good point in the chat. He also said he looks good at third base. Well, he's a third baseman. He did play third base. Played second base in college as well. But, I mean, I know that we're not going to get into this debate right now between the two of us, and I don't know if we really have a hard stance one way or the other, and we both like each other, even though people probably on the stream sometimes think that we probably are at each other's necks. I do believe that guys can change dramatically if you just automatically put them in a different position that they've never played before. I also think that that could have happened to Nick, but I'm not going to sit here and take a hard stance and saying that's the 100% reason he struggled. But there is something to be said about guys being comfortable and having familiarity at a position, and then when you take them out of said position of that familiarity, things change, and they change dramatically. And Nick's not the only one that's probably happened to throughout his Major League Baseball career. So,
yeah, he looks more comfortable than I can ever remember right now, and he also looks very grateful. Any interview that you've seen with him, he just seems so grateful that he has this like second opportunity here. Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm having a lot of fun watching this guy every night. I hope he can keep it up because it could be a really, really cool story to follow this summer, and we might need as many of those little stories as we can get this year.
Yeah. All right. What was I going to ask you that I thought was important? It'll probably come to me in a minute. Oh, Barrero. I didn't get a chance to see Barrero play a ton last year. I didn't get a chance to see him play really hardly at all in the minor leagues. I really wasn't as dedicated as obviously you were at that time. I don't know what I was doing, but it certainly wasn't watching the MILB app. So has he changed his swing? I know that he made a swing adjustment, but has he always done this two-toe tap thing where he loads, taps his toe as one timing mechanism, and then I don't say loads again, but then taps again as he goes to swing? Has he always done that, or did he change his swing to do that? Like, did he struggle so bad last year that he was like, I got to fix something? That, in my opinion, maybe it wasn't just fixing your swing. It was a confidence thing. It was like a Nick Senzel thing. Does anybody? I mean,
Bryce is saying yes.
Bryce so like my thing, Bryce, is at this point, I know you can't. It's hard to do this in the middle of a season. I maybe it's too late because you've already committed so much time, effort, and energy in switching up your swing. But I just don't think in a million years that he's going to have success with the way in which he's trying to hit right now. You have to be ultra talented to be able to hit like that. That's almost got to be like a natural way to hit. Like when I say a natural way, like Nick, what I mean by that is like that's the way that you feel like you've hit since you were a kid. That's just what feels right, and you've always hit well. It's like the Jim Furyk golf swing. If you've ever watched Jim Furyk hit a swing a golf club, it's disgusting, It doesn't look like it should ever work, but he's done that for so long, and Jim Furyk's had success his whole entire life that you just live with it because it produces results. You don't swing like Jose Barrero as a non-natural instinct. It just doesn't work. And I'll be the first to admit that I'm completely wrong if he ever figures it out with that two-toe tap. But he will never, in my opinion, be a big league hitter the way that he's swinging the bat right. Not even swinging the bat, but just the way that his approach is right now. It just looks terrible. And Fairchild sometimes I feel like is the same way. But here's the thing. I think Fairchild, that's a little more of a natural motion for him. So I kind of live with that, but I don't really love Fairchild's kind of his whole all of those motions and herky-jerky stuff. But I know I'm not the hitting coach down there, but I'm telling Barrero to go back in the cage and act like he's a kid again and just start swinging the bat that feels relatively normal.
Yeah, I'd say Barrero needs to go down and just kind of work on things, but he had all last year to do that and wasn't able to really have any success even in the minors. I don't know. I'm starting to feel like Barrero is running out of leash.
He's got to be close.
Yeah, I feel like he's. He might be 2 games away from Matt McLean taking his spot on Friday night at Great American Ballpark.
Do you think that's going to happen?
I don't know. I mean, I think
it seems too good to be true.
I don't think McLean's far away. I don't know necessarily if he's like up this weekend. I said my piece on that. I'm fine with it either way. I think there's valid reasons to keep him down a little longer. I think there's valid reasons to calling him up. I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think it's going to mess up his career. I don't think it's that big of a deal for what's going on this year. I get people want to see him. I want to see him. But I kind of feel like Barrero, if it's not like Friday, it's a week, 2 weeks, it's getting close. I feel like he's the odd man out right now. If I'm looking at the team because of the way Senzel's playing, you're going to want to keep spots for him, not necessarily a spot, but multiple spots. Steer, the way he's playing. Myers isn't going to be out that long. I think Barrero probably is the odd man out right now. So
Can Kevin Newman play first base?
I don't know why Kevin Newman can't play anywhere. Like I feel like Kevin Newman needs to have the value to be able to do a little bit of everything. The problem also is that Joey Votto's out, Will Myers is out. That was your first baseman and your backup first baseman. And then you have Tyler Stevenson.
Right.
You had like all these options, and you have your top 2 are already are gone right now. But I don't think Myers gonna be out that long. It doesn't sound like his injury is more than like a 10-day thing from everything I've read.
So the only reason I ask is I really don't want Spencer Steer to be stuck over there at first base for as long as he's been over there for, and I know why. It's like okay, if he's our best option or he's our only option over there, I just don't like that. I mean, he's too young of a player for him to be stuck over there at first base for extended periods of time, in my opinion. He was playing great third base. I thought he looked incredible over there. He was hitting the ball well. And lo and behold, Nick, and I'm not saying it's David Bell's fault, but it just so happens to be coincidental that he gets moved positions, and then all of a sudden some of his production slides a little bit. Now, I do know he's hitting the ball hard, so I'm not saying that he's struggling extensively, but and I know you're probably looking up stats right now to see if that's actually rings true. And you know what?
No,
if I'm wrong, you can say I'm wrong, but just my eyeballs, these 2 things that I watch the TV screen with, it seems like he's not been as productive as he's moved over to first base.
I was gonna say it's since he moved up in the lineup, everyone was like, I can't hit this guy 6th and 7th. Gotta move him up. Yeah, look at the splits on him hitting third. It's much different. And those things are such small samples. We really can't make big deals out of that. But
right.
I would say if we wanted to blame something, I would think it's that one other thing. I would, one thing I'd add to that, Trace, is if he's playing first because Nick Senzel's playing third base, it's a little more stomachable than if it's for Kevin Newman, Matt Reynolds, whoever, right? At least if it's if Steer's playing first base, and the reason he's playing first base is because Nick Senzel's playing third base.
Okay. Yes.
That-
I'm cool with that. But like,
I'm-
tonight, like, I mean, listen. It always gonna sound like I'm crushing Kevin Newman. I'm not. I'm saying like Kevin Newman can play first base, but I would rather have Steer, who's the much more athletic of the two, playing third base than
100%.
than Kevin Newman. So I mean, that's why I just asked the question. Like, if Kevin Newman can play first base, and I don't see why he couldn't. I mean, if you can play shortstop, then I would think that you could play first. I would just like to see that. I don't want Spencer Steer over there every single game just because that's the odd man out, and just because he's the only one that can do it. All right. You want to get into Casey Lugamina? I say his name really fast just because I don't know how to say his 100%.
Yeah, you're nailing it. You're nailing it. Man, he looked awesome. I tell you what,
I think
this
he is
guy,
awesome. I think he is awesome.
For a guy that was, just the return for Kyle Farmer. I mean, he's been fantastic. Charlie Goldsmith had pointed out he had never even reached AAA before this season. He's aggressive out there. He's got a lot of talent, and
Right.
yeah, I hope he doesn't get another one of those shuttle buses down to AAA.
No way.
I think a lot of time. Well, I mean, no, not this moment. I think a lot of times. I think the last time was more just. I think he went down to AAA, like pitched like twice. Like it was more just like because he's pitched a lot, we're gonna kind of give him some rest. And they do. A lot of teams do that, not just the Reds. A lot of teams, when you have a pitcher that has options, all right, he's thrown 4 out of 5 days. Let's set him down to AAA for 10 days. We'll pitch him once there and then call him back up, and it's a way to keep guys fresh and arms and all that. But he looks fantastic.
Speaking of shuttling, speaking of shuttling, Eric says that did you see Soto giving him the shuffle? Yeah, I did see that, and I also seen Soto shuffling his tail back to the bench too after he struck out, because I do like that. I do like that out of Soto. I know some people like kind of take that whole thing personal and like, oh, is he showing up the pitcher? I could care less. I think it's actually hilarious that he does that. And Soto's such a good hitter that I think you could do what you want when you're that good, to a certain extent. Was that ball that Ramos hit? I know I'm getting all over the place. Was that ball that Ramos hit that Tatis tracked down? That has to have been a home run in 10 ballparks.
Was it late in the game? I'm assuming 378 feet.
Yeah.
It was a home run in 0.
Oh. My street cred's right down the drain, man.
It was 378 feet, though.
Come on, dude. You're telling me that's not out at Great American Ballpark?
Well, it was
378 feet to right center field in Great American Ballpark. Is not a home run.
I'm telling you what.
Where are you getting this information at? Statcast?
BaseballSavant.mlb.com.
What about Wood at Dong?
That's from Statcast.
Well, I want to double check.
It's automatically generated from the same thing I'm looking at.
All right. Fair enough. Let's get into the chat a minute. I know for the podcast sake, maybe they'll have to listen to this. Maybe they won't. I don't know if you cut it out or not. It's a late night, so they'll probably
there's no editing at 12:50 a.m.
If you're if you're listening to this in podcast form in the morning, I don't want to say consider this podcast done. I'll tell you what. Let's do this. Let's give them tomorrow's starters, just so we can make sure that the people that listen to this on the radio. I call it the radio as a joke. On the drive-in and the morning commute, we can give them tomorrow's starters, and then we can have a little fun with the chat, just so the folks that are driving don't have to listen to this. Go ahead and hit them with it, Nick. Tomorrow's starters.
All right. Well, first off, let's mention real quick tomorrow. It feels like a game the Reds really need, Trace. I think most rational Reds fans, if the Reds could get out of San Diego with one win, get out of a West Coast road trip 3-3, would say, hey, that's fine with where it seems at.
It's almost like winning yesterday was really important.
Yeah. Tomorrow's the day you need because you got Cecil on Wednesday. So Graham Ashcraft for the Reds. Obviously, he's been great. Obviously coming back from a tough situation, losing his grandmother. This will be his first ever appearance against the Padres. He has faced two Nats hitters, faced Soto and Cruz when they were with the Nats. Both guys are 0 for 3. And then I got one stat on Ashcraft for you. Opponents are hitting just 0.67 against Graham Ashcraft with runners in scoring position this season. Coming into today, that was the best among qualified starting pitchers in baseball. So just awesome start to the season for Graham Ashcraft. Hopefully he can keep it up. Michael Wacha, who will be starting for the Padres. He signed right when spring training started to a multi-year deal. Career 12-3, 2.69 ERA against the Reds. Last year, he pitched well against the Reds, against the Red Sox. You might remember that game at Fenway Park. It was one of Luis Castillo's last shining moments with the Reds. Really good back and forth game. Yours truly was there in person. Enjoyed that. Kevin Newman, 3 for 4 in his career off Wacha. Jake Fraley, 2 for 2. And this is a real interesting number, okay? Nick Senzel, 0 for 10 with 4 strikeouts against Wacha. So, does David Bell go, today's the day to give Nick Senzel the day off and let Twitter burn? Or does he say, hey, Nick Senzel, let's show us what you really got. Let's get some hits off a guy you've struggled with throughout your career.
Waka, says Jordan in the chat. I'm not my theory. I'm not sitting Nick Senzel. That is not happening.
I'm not either.
I'm going to go up to Nick and I don't even think I'm going to tell him about the stats. He might know it already, but if I felt like there was any inkling that Nick Senzel knew his history with Wacha, I'd walk up to him and say, this old bastard ain't as good as he once was, and you're playing pretty damn well. So just go out there and do your thing. As far as the Reds needing to win, this is why I was pissed off yesterday. Because I knew what was around the corner, and like it or not, the Padres have a good team, and I know they might not have been playing well to start the season, but they're still a good team. And you also have Weaver and Sessa throwing. So, yeah. It would have been nice to win in Oakland with Lodolo going. So, as far as giving guys days off, I do have one small concern with the idea of how many lefties we're going to see this year. I do feel for Fraley a little bit and Friedel. Friedel maybe not as much because it seems like he might get a little more starts based off of his splits and his career splits against lefties, so I don't think he'll get sat automatically as much. But it's somewhat concerning for Fraley because he's just in a spot where, man, he might go 2, 3, 4 games in a row, and I know 4 is a stretch, but 2, 3 games in a row not play, and then then all of a sudden get shuffled back in the lineup, and not only be shuffled back in the lineup, but be expected to produce as one of the best hitters in the lineup. So I don't know how much I love that, but that's here nor there. All right. What do you got?
Just looking ahead, if things hold where they are, at least the next 7 starters after tomorrow. Or no, Michael Wacha is a right-handed pitcher. So the next 8 starting pitchers are right-handed that the Reds will face.
All
so
right.
looks like it is going to swing. It is going to swing back. There could also be changes, but Fangraphs gives you like the next 2 weeks, and they're all lined up to be righties.
Like I said, if I was a manager and I was in a spot where I wasn't sure who my starter was going to be, I'd throw a lefty at all costs against the Reds. That's the best opportunity to beat this team. Just throw a lefty out there, and you'll have a lineup that you'll be happy with. As far as the chat goes, if we have any other questions, comments, or concerns, I don't have anything player formerly known as Mouse Cop about the nut cutter situation today. I have no idea where that came from. I seen it just ravaging through the chat boards. I'm going to have to maybe do my homework and go back through and maybe watch a little OTB and figure out where that came from or what that's about. But no, I'm not, no idea what in the world nut cutter is. I'll have to do a little research on my own on that one. Let's see here. What else we got? You see anything else, Nick?
Nah, just hey, enjoyed Nick Senzel. You know, we gotta enjoy these moments, these stretches like this. You know, this is the kind of stuff that really does matter too. You know, like what Nick Senzel can do this year, what guys like him can do. That's what we're I don't know. That's what I'm looking forward to this year and trying to figure out. The nut cutter situation, I was watching a little bit of off the bench. I believe, Trace, that was around the 10:45 a.m. mark because it was right before I started lunch with the kids.
Fred, you do not have to worry about me Googling that. I can tell you that. That and the first time that I was in high school, and I was Googling a sporting goods store that I was trying to see if I could find some. I don't remember what it was, but anyways, I was trying to look up a sporting goods store, and I just straight up typed it into Google. Not a good scene, especially at school. Just so you know, bad choice. Bryce
definitely cutting.
Bryce with the smart move. He said 12 and 17 is better than 6 and 23. That it is.
It is true.
This
is true. It's also better than a lot of the Reds minor league teams right now.
I mean, they've been relatively competitive too. I mean,
well,
they've been competitive. Now, do I think they're good? I don't. I mean, and we need some help. I don't know where that help's going to come from. I'd like to think it's going to come from AAA from a couple of players. But maybe I'll hold out some hope, and we might go get some guys, that are out there from time to time. Maybe the ownership group will help out from time to time in regards to going out and getting some guys. I said we could call over to Japan. They got some guys. They do. You saying they don't?
Aquino got released. He's available.
I seen that. Got another guy over there. Got another guy over there just absolutely tearing it up.
Shogo Akiyama?
Yep. That's him. Got another guy that's tearing it up over there too.
I can't think of anyone else. All out.
You sure?
In the show.
You sure about that? He's ruffling some feathers. I don't know if you've seen that, but he's ruffling some feathers.
Yeah, he's
bad move, by the way, on his part. Does he not think through just the culture? Does he not? Does that not register?
He doesn't think. That's why he's playing in Japan right now.
Right. That's good. That's what you want for pitchers. You don't think. You think Matt Latos was thinking out there? That guy had
another guy that couldn't make it more than 5 years in the big leagues. That looked like he was about to be a perennial all-star. Had his career completely go down the tubes because he was an idiot.
I knew Matt Latos was a very well thought out, mannered person when I seen the personality traits of his wife on Twitter. I did.
Oh, there's a whole other. She once called me Google Boy on Twitter. So there's a whole.
Oh, I didn't know that. She called you Google Boy.
Yeah, me and Mrs. Latos used to get into it back in the day.
I did not.
I was a little more feisty than I am now, Trace. I
just
really
can't picture you as being feisty.
Really toned down.
Did you agree with her? Did you tell her? Oh yes, I do use Google, Mrs. Latos.
I don't think I responded. I think I just left that one.
Gotcha. Fair
Google
enough.
Boy. Yep. There we go. I've been called worse. That's for sure.
Yeah. No. Some people don't like you on the internet. That's how it goes. They can come after me all they want. I could care less. And you know what? There's some people that are really smart on the internet. Like genuinely, there's people in this chat that have called me out from time to time. And I'm here for it. I'm okay with being challenged in my thought process. But one thing I always do find funny with athletes, professional athletes at that, some of them actually think since they play a sport better than everyone else that they automatically know a sport better than everyone else. That's just not how it works. I mean, that's just not how it works. Some of the best players that I ever played with are dumb as hell. I mean, they were just they were as clueless as they could come. They and I mean that with the bottom of my heart. I mean, they were good baseball players, but you asked them what a double switch was and they'd have no idea. They thought that'd be something that you were getting a park card or something for.
Trace, do you think that the lack of double switches has really just been a detriment to David Bell, since the DH? You think that? I feel like that was one of his calling cards.
Yeah. I mean, listen, when you're as smart as David Bell, right? When you have as big of a brain and as high of a baseball IQ as David Bell, any time that they take away something to where you can use your big brain and your high baseball IQ, it's a detriment to you. It's a detriment to you. You're simpling the game down. So it's almost like think of it like this. Think of it like this. This is David Bell. Like if David Bell, was the all-time best player there ever was in Madden, right? And then all of a sudden they came out one day and they're like, all right, we're actually going to shave Madden down to basically like the first version of the game that they played on the Atari, where you got 2 buttons and you can only go left or you can only go right. David Bell's not as useful anymore because the game's a lot simpler. And that's where we're at right now. I mean, yeah. I don't know.
Hell, maybe we do need Barry then.
Who's that?
Lurkin. I was joking because the game's simpler. It's
Well, I was gonna say some really nasty things. I stopped. Yeah. Barry Larkin was a hell of a player. Barry Larkin, yeah. Well, there's people watching, and this is the internet, so it does live forever. And people can clip something up and then use it to my disadvantage.
And we can't cut this stuff for like 12 hours either.
Yeah, no. Chris Welsh, I think, is really good at his job. I really do. I think he's very good at his job, although I was very severely disappointed in him tonight by saying, I can't tell. The ball hit his bat. The ball hit his bat, Chris. Like, come on, man. It was a foul ball. Nick, I know we don't get into that, but chat, it was a foul ball. Like, why doesn't someone in the booth just say, oh, yeah, the ball hit his bat and it ricocheted to the right, and the catcher squeezed his mitt at the same time, and it was a foul ball. No, we sat up there like, was it catcher's interference? No, I don't know. It's hard to tell. It wasn't hard to tell for me. Maybe they have little small monitors up there. Maybe we could upgrade them.
They're pretty small.
Ask Chris. The monitors are small?
Yeah. I was there in Pittsburgh. I saw it.
How small are the monitors?
They're legit probably what's a 14 inches, 15 inches?
Way.
They are small.
Why?
They're tiny. Well, they have to see over them. Like, so they have their monitors like right in front of them.
Yeah, they make monitors that fold up and down. Like you can.
Those booths are tight. There's a lot of people in those booths. It's tight quarters, especially when you're on the road, which they're on the road.
Let me tell you something. The number one advantage that you could use as a broadcaster, as somebody that's never broadcasted at a game in the Major League Stadium will tell you, has to be a big, nice size monitor to be able to see not only the replays, but also the pitches that come in.
Well, maybe when Bally folds here in, 72 hours, we'll get some bigger monitors for the guys.
You're sitting here convincing me the 14-inch monitor is the only thing they can get away with in a broadcast booth. I mean, I don't know, man.
How big of a monitor does Reed Mouse have when he's calling Miami Redhawks baseball games?
He's got a 27-inch.
Sheesh. I mean,
yeah, you got to see what's going on.
Major League Baseball, figure it out.
Well, they can't figure it out in New York. Hell, I think they're using 14-inch monitors in New York.
Maybe that's the problem.
Yeah. Major League Baseball.
One for each game.
Major League Baseball. Yeah.
Thanks, Steve, backing me up in the chat. Even Tommy Thrall gets small monitors. Tell you, these things are tiny. Ask Big League Paul about that. I think Paul had some Mountain West basketball to watch.
I can't believe that. I don't understand. Listen, I'll be honest with you. If I was a broadcaster, I'd take it in my own hands. I'd show up. I'd carry. It'd be looking like I was Pursuit of Happiness walking up in that bitch. You know what I'm saying? I'd be double fisting. I'd be walking up the stairs with my 32-inch monitor saying, okay, well, guess what? Old daddy's bringing his own. You guys can have your own 14-inch monitors over there. I'm plugging my stuff in. I don't even care if it's got to sit on the ground behind me. In fact, I would argue, now I maybe I should tell Thom this to his face, I think Thom was a better broadcaster at the beginning of COVID because he had to sit directly in front of a monitor that showed him where the pitches were. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, man, just missed outside. It's like these guys aren't looking at the monitor. Well, the monitor shows you that the pitch was like, 6 inches outside.
I think you got a whole segment tomorrow for Off the Bench in about 4 hours when it starts.
4 hours. That's right. It's late. I got to go into work tomorrow, too. Everything in New York sucks, as Fred says. All right. Yeah, Bush League. Anything else that we have to add? We have 24 people in here doing a little bit of late night television. 1:07 in the morning.
I got a question for you, Trey. So
I got an answer.
For your next step as a major league broadcaster, when you go city to city, are you trying to get your 32-inch monitor on the plane with you, or are you just buying a new one in every city?
It's a great question. They make something called a SKS. This is big league. They make something called an SKS case. Okay,
yep.
You can get them custom made, laser foam in laser foam cutouts. So yeah, I'd be carrying it on. Yep,
behind the curtain.
You got a long layover. You pull that. You could pull the monitor out right there on the tarmac if you needed to. Watch you some Netflix or watch you some Hulu
play
or
some Xbox.
Watch you some Apple TV. Yeah, that's what you could. I mean, listen, no one's ever gone wrong with a big screen. When was the last time you heard someone say? When was the last time you heard someone say, "Man, this screen's just too big"?
Trust me, I'm a big screen guy. I just got a 32-inch computer monitor I'm looking at right now. So I'm with you.
Maybe that's what Thom obviously can call Chris. John. I'm willing to pitch in. I mean, if they need the money, I'll get them a monitor. I'll tell you what, whatever it takes, so I don't have to sit here and want to pound my head into a brick wall when I have to hear those guys saying, I don't know it. I don't know. It's hard to tell. It wasn't hard to tell.
I got it. All right. So Chatterbox donates these monitors, but Chatterbox puts a sticker on the back of them. So every time they do a shot,
nice. Now we're talking.
Free sponsorship.
Right. Should we do those really goofy stickers they put at corporate places where it says this property belongs to, and it has your name underneath it, and then it has a big long what's that called? Jesus, it's late. What's that bar called where they scan it at the stores? Come on, Chad. This is bad.
QR code.
No, it wasn't a QR code. It's like a scanner at the grocery store. Oh my gosh. It's not good.
Scanner?
No. Barcode. Nice. Jordan. I got it right before Jordan put it in there.
We're way below QR code.
Yeah, a barcode.
Oh, man.
That's what they do. They put barcodes on things. Man, brutal. UPC's right. The real spirit cat. Nick, I like hanging out with the chat. They like hanging out with us. But we should probably go to bed because we got to do this again tomorrow. And tomorrow, the Graham Cracker throws. And I really do like watching him pitch. Think he might be the best guy we got. I do know that that can be debated. But as always, as a reminder, Graham Ashcraft throwing tomorrow. He's got a 2.1 ERA. That's better than Waka Waka Waka. He used to throw with a really bad franchise. Glad to see that he's got an opportunity of brighter pastures out there in San Diego. And, of course, your favorite show, our favorite show, your grandparents' favorite show, it's Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. till noon. You could watch it and figure out what a nut cutter is, I guess. We'll try to find that out with you. But more importantly, you know the drill. The most important thing that we do here is we promote two things. One is liking the stream. So if you're still on here right now, which is a miracle, there's 23 people watching. There's 14 likes. I can do math. That means we could do more likes on the stream than we're doing right now. So if you could like the stream, that would be number 1 on the list. Number 2 on the list is downloading Chatterbox Reds. And all you got to do is subscribe. Don't know if you know this or not, but a lot of these platforms have made things easy for you. So if you could just subscribe, that'd be fantastic. If you want to leave a review, that's cool too. But most importantly, as always, come back and hang out with us tomorrow. This is a lot of fun, and it's a lot of fun literally because of you, and only because of you. As always, go Reds.